You guys really said, you want my opinion? You're gonna get my opinion. Ooh, that's good. That's a good one today. Hi guys, we are back with another one, and this is going to be a little different from what we normally do. I'm currently working on our next reading challenge video, but in the meantime, I figured I'd fill it in because we're always kind of on my Instagram and in my YouTube comments chatting about our different opinions on bookish related books, bookish related tropes, bookish related themes, but you're also always asking me questions about my bookish journey. I mean, I even get questioned about my kids and my husband, which is really cool, and my bookish related journey and all the logistics of how I read and how I store my books. So one day I just said, you know what? I wonder how many people just haven't asked or haven't given me their opinion, and I want to hear them all. I want to hear every single opinion you have ever. I want to field all the questions you have and answer them as I get them. So I put up on my Instagram and I said, hey, send me your bookish related opinions, controversial or not, and any like book related or life related questions, and I'll answer them in a video. And that is what we're going to do today. So I put up a couple of polls. I put up a couple of prompts asking for questions, and let's go over what you guys said. This is going to be kind of like a little informal chatty video between us. And I can't wait to see what people said, what people asked. And as always, every single one of these opinions and questions is going to be 100% anonymous. So if I ever do this again in the future and you see this go up on my Instagram, like hit me with them. Like give me the juicy gossip, give me the juicy opinions, give me the juicy questions. I mean, what's the worst case scenario? I just won't put it in the video. That's literally the worst case scenario. I'll probably just answer you personally, not in the video. So that's it. All right, let's get into our first one. So our first bookish related opinion was Ms. Sally Rooney, no thank you. That is hilarious. I have never read a Sally Rooney, but I know that she's a very polarizing author because of her like writing style and her linguistic style. I know that she's most famous for not using quotation marks, and I 100% would be a reader that would probably hate that. Like my brain has to be very orderly or it sends me into chaos and I have trouble focusing. That's just the way I process. And I could see no quotation marks being like a big no thank you. So I am going to go ahead and say I agree with this opinion. I have not read her, so it's uneducated and ignorant of me. But if you asked me if I thought that Sally Rooney was going to be for me or not, I'd probably agree with this and say, Miss Sally Rooney, no thank you. Next we have None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell was 2-star. Ending was garbage in my opinion. Have not read it. It's on my shelves, but that surprises me because I think None of This Is True has become kind of like the new release cult classic in the mystery thriller genre, which I'm not a lover of anyways. So for me, I can't honestly see a ton of mystery thrillers being like a 4 or a 5-star. I think they're kind of silly usually. I would love to hear more about, without spoilers obviously, but I'd love to hear more about from this person, like what about it was garbage? Was it silly? Was it nonsensical? Was it cringy? Did it not make sense? I don't know, but I'll take your word for it. I'm not going to say I necessarily agree that it would be 2-star because I haven't read it and I don't know, but for me, I wouldn't predict it to be over a 4-star. So ending was garbage. That makes me kind of more intrigued than anything to read it because I want to see if I agree with you. Next I have, a question. What is your favorite thing about reading? Okay, there are so many things I love about reading. Okay, but I guess I'm going to answer this question in the least mushy way possible. Reading has changed my life and my perspective on life as far as slowing down and doing things for yourself. I live a very busy life. I live a very chaotic life. And I love it that way. I'm not complaining. Nothing but gratitude. I have an attitude of gratitude here. And I love it that way, but we are busy. We are always on the run. We are blessed to have a lot going on and to have the means to have a lot going on. And for me, reading is my comfort, my sense of home at the end of the day. where I sit down and I take out my book and just breathe for a second and come down from the day and relax. I love sitting in my chair with a nice coffee, reading my book. It is peace and calm for me. And that is the number one thing I love about reading after a busy day. I am a reader who can envision books in my brain. When I am reading, I do see like a running movie in my head. I do picture characters. I do picture scenes. I do picture landscapes. So to me, I don't watch a ton of TV, so reading is my TV. So it's equivalent to like coming home at the end of the day and putting your sweats on, getting on the couch and watching a show you love. Except for me, it's putting my sweats on, getting homely in my house and reading a book. So it is my calm, it is my peace, it is my grounding, and that's what I love about reading. I love that question. Thank you so much. Okay. How the heck is ACOTAR so popular? Okay, wait. All right. Maybe I'm not supposed to be doing these videos because I am very much like a follow-up question type of girl. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have follow-up questions. Are you specifically asking about ACOTAR, like A Court of Thorns and Ruins, the book? Because if that's the case, controversial. Hold on. I agree. Okay. If that's the case, I agree. However, if you are talking about ACOTAR, the series, like the A Court of Thorns and Ruins series, like, girl, I actually don't know who this is. Person. How is this a thing? I have to disagree. Okay, so 50-50 answer. A Court of Thorns and Ruins, the book, I get it. I read that book, and while I did give it like a 3.75 stars, like I certainly didn't hate it. I kind of like closed the book on the last page and I was like, that's what everyone has been freaking out about. Like, that's what was supposed to blow my mind and like change reading for me. It didn't. I thought it was decent, but I closed the end of the book and I was like, oh, all right, it was good. Am I going to move on with the series? Yeah. But was it everything in a bag of chips like everyone said it was going to be? No. Let's hope the second one gets better. Which takes me into my second part of this answer, and it's the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, like the ACOTAR series as a whole. Once I got to A Court of Mist and Fury, I was like, and there it is. And there it is. That is why this series has gotten all this hype. The first one was meh. Then ACOMAF, ACOWAR, Frost and Starlight, and Silver Flames, I was like, this is what everyone was talking about. This is what blows my mind. So I would have a follow-up question. I agree with the book, disagree with the series being overhyped. Next one is a three-parter. It says, I think the people who hate/don't understand Nesta's character arc have never been depressed before in their life because her actions are very normal for someone suffering with mental health issues as she is. This is in reference to Nesta from A Court of Silver Flames, which is so far the last book in the ACOTAR series. And I wouldn't go so far as to say, like, I think if you don't understand her, you haven't experienced mental health issues, because I don't know, right? Like, everyone processes those things differently. Everyone's mental health is different. However, I do understand the general point of what you're saying. If you don't understand, and if you can't psychoanalyze, like, the deeper part of what makes Nesta the way that she is, not making excuses for her behavior sometimes because she's a meanie, but if you don't understand what has contributed to making Nesta the way that she is, maybe you don't have the same struggles that she's had and you're not processing things the same way she is. So I think if you go through the series learning about Nesta and reading from Nesta's perspective and put yourself in her shoes and try to understand the way she's processing, you should understand her better. Maybe when people don't understand her, they haven't done that, right? Like, they haven't considered her life and how she's processed things that have gone on in her life. So overwhelmingly, I pretty much, like, overall, I agree with what your opinion is. I understand what you were trying to get to. And I do think I agree with this, because Nesta is a very complex character, and it definitely did contribute to the way that she handles herself in the series. So I get what you're saying. Okay, this is the question. How many books do you read every month? So every month is different. I average like between 6 and 8 typically, but that certainly does not mean that I don't have like a 4 or 5 book month. It happens all the time. And for me, I try not to hyperfixate on how many books, because as long as I'm reading, that's okay. And if it's going to be a month where I'm reading like 4 700-page books, like that's equivalent to me to a month where I'm reading smaller books, except more of them. So I'm going to go ahead and say like 6 to 8. I think last year I read 82, which is an average of 6.8 books per month. So yeah, somewhere in the 6 to 8 range. That's what I do. All right, next opinion. I think you meant dog-eared pages is literally a crime. And I'm going to be honest with you, only because we're giving our opinions here. I agree. I don't personally dog-ear my pages, and the thought of like bending my cover or dog-earing my pages makes me like, oh, I hate it. I can't do it. I can't do it. To me, that like is destroying my books, which I don't love to keep pristine. Like I'm okay with creases in the spine. That just means I've read them. But oh God, or like spilling water on a book. Oh my God. I'm starting to sweat just thinking about it. I'm starting to sweat. I just don't love the look of that. And once you dog-ear a page, for me, I just don't feel like it ever goes back to the way it was. However, I'm going to give that with the caveat of you paid for it. It's yours. Like if it doesn't bother you, go for it. Just personally, I don't dog-ear my pages. I don't like my pages dog-eared. And if I ever lent out a book and it came back with dog-eared pages, that would be a conversation that person and I would be having. So not for me. I agree with this one. Okay, the next question is, how do you find the time to read? With a little hand up. Yeah, me too. I know. Oh God, what is the non-pretentious way to answer this without sounding like a total goober? Okay, this is gonna sound like, I hope this doesn't come across as like, let me tell you. I'm not scolding you, I'm just answering my personal opinion. Prioritize reading. That's really, it doesn't get any more simpler than that. Like, just prioritize it. So sometimes I find myself like sitting on the couch and I start like doom scrolling on my phone, or I turn on a show that I'm not even really that into, or I just like space out, or I don't know, like I find myself doing something that in my opinion is like wasting time, and I go, what am I doing? I could be reading. Like I just prioritize reading. I don't let myself zone out on mindless television. I don't let myself doom scroll too long. I give myself a couple of minutes to scroll through my feed, to answer any comments, to talk to you guys, and then I put my phone off and I pick up my book. And if you're looking for a way to stop that, I could actually give you a couple of apps that, I forget which one I use is, I'm gonna have to look it up. There's a couple of apps that if you message me on Instagram, I can actually send you when I look them up. Like you set on your phone a little, you plant a seed in the ground and it starts a timer. And as the timer goes for however long you send it, the little tree or the little flower or the little plant grows. And if you touch your phone or turn off the timer during that process, you kill your plants or you kill your tree. And for some reason, that really motivates me because I just don't want to kill my cute little flower. Like I just want my flower to grow. And like all the other things can happen once my flower is pretty and healthy and grown. So I do that. I do a lot of reading challenges as far as like timing. So I found that if I set an hour-long timer on my phone and put my focus on my phone and put my earphones in, I will sit for an hour uninterrupted and read. So if I find that I'm having trouble prioritizing reading and making the time to read, I highly suggest setting a timer and not allowing yourself to move until the timer goes off. That ensures and guarantees that I get an hour or two of straight reading every day. But for the most part, my simple answer would be prioritize your reading. Don't let yourself get distracted. Once you really change your mindset from mindless activities to reading, you're going to see your productivity skyrocket as far as your reading journey. So that's my answer. Prioritize it. Okay, the next opinion is I DNF'd Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. Hated all the characters. I have not read Birthday Girl. I did read a Penelope Douglas, and I don't remember which one it was, but I did read her books. I'm going to go ahead, even though I haven't read it, and said I probably agree with the potential of DNFing this because I just recently read Does It Hurt? I've read the Cat and Mouse duet, Haunting Adeline. I've read a significant number or not. Well, I guess maybe an insignificant to some people. So I guess that's subjective, but I've read an okay amount of dark romance, and it's not my favorite thing. And Penelope Douglas does write the pretty crass, vulgar, spicy, aggressive, aggressively themed dark romance, and I don't know if that would necessarily be for me. So I could understand why it would be a DNF. And I also have heard that the characters in that book are ludicrous, and I've heard that the theme is this the book where there's a bunch of like underage kids that just basically live like adults, like they live by themselves and they drive cars and when they're not supposed to, I don't know. There's like no parental supervision. So yeah, I could see that. Okay, here's another question. What's your most read genre? So it's always a tie between romance and romantasy, like fantasy romantasy. I'm making the distinction of romantasy because it's not like epic high fantasy. I haven't really gotten into that yet. I want to. I've talked about that a little bit lately, but it's a tie between romance and fantasy. However, last year, according to my story graph, I read more romance. So I guess the technical answer to this question would probably be romance last year. I think I'm on track to have it be fantasy this year, but we still have a lot of time left, so that might change. So my answer for right now is romance. Okay, are you team annotate and mark up books or team leave them pristine? Okay, I think I tend to be more on team leave them pristine. I don't often annotate or write in my books. I haven't in, God, probably a good 2 years now. I don't think I've put pen to paper in a book or highlighter to paper in a book. I'm not opposed to it. So like, I don't know which like team I'd be super loyal to, but if I had to choose, I'd probably be team leave them pristine. I would prefer to open up a note on my scribe or on my computer and write notes there that I can knock down and come back to if I want them, but I don't often write in books. So I'm not a huge annotator. So similar to my dog earring pages opinion, I'm team leave my books pristine, please. Okay, Patreon book clubs feel less inviting to join versus a Fable or Discord book club. First of all, I love this opinion because I do have a completely free Fable book club, Homey and Homely, and when I was looking into, I knew I wanted to start a book club, but what platform was I going to use to start it? I did look into Patreon and Discord, and what turned me off of Patreon was that like payment element. I didn't love that that was even incorporated. I never had the idea to make it a paid service because that just isn't what I want to do right now. But the idea that that could be associated, like I feel like it's gotten to the point, like when you say like, join me on Patreon, people assume they're paying you. So I love this opinion. I'm like, this has answered so many questions for me and I'm glad I went with Fable, but I agree with this. As a reader, as somebody who still does consume like a large amount of BookTube, whenever I hear people say like, join me over on Patreon, I'm kind of just like, I don't want to pay for a service. It's not for me. So yes, I would go ahead and agree with this. And my link to my completely free Fable book club is always down in the description. We are currently reading Guild this month. So there you go. And if you want to get homey and homely with us, it's the place for you. How do you pick a book to read if you have so many on your TBR? Yeah. That is the never-ending struggle that I deal with all the time. And that is why I do so many challenges, so many spin wheels, so many like, help me choose a book type thing on Instagram, because the sheer number of books on my TBR, which I think I'm at about 1,000, certainly can get overwhelming and it's hard to pick. However, if I'm not going to answer with the cheapskate cheater's way of getting out of this saying like, oh, I spin a wheel, which is true. If I do want to turn around and just look at my shelves and pick something right now, I ask myself some preemptive questions. So I'll immediately say like, what genre are you or are you not feeling right now? So right now I am not feeling a romance. So I'm like, okay, so are you not feeling, or are you feeling a mystery thriller? Are you feeling a fantasy? Are you feeling a nonfiction, a little literary fiction? No, I'm not feeling a lit fiction. I'm not feeling a mystery romance or a mystery thriller. So I'll choose between a nonfiction and a fantasy. I kind of like narrow it down for myself. and then I go from there. After I've chosen my genre that I'm definitely going to read, I always look at what series I'm in the middle of, and I determine whether I want to continue moving forward in that series, because I don't want to keep adding to my series that I'm in the middle of. So I typically look and I say, okay, here's the 4 fantasy series I'm in the middle of. Am I going to move forward with those? Typically I can pick one off those lists. But if I can't, and I just I mood choose. So that's process of elimination is how I choose what I'm reading next with so many books. So let's break up the opinions and the questions really quick with one of my polls. So the first poll I put up on Instagram was asking you your opinions on DNFing. DNFing a book is such a controversial thing recently, where some people say, I'm not going to waste any time reading a book that I'm not liking. And other people say, how could you possibly issue an opinion on a book that you didn't finish? Like, what if it ended up turning around at the end and you ended up loving it? So it's kind of a controversial opinion. I personally am team DNF. Before I even look at what you guys said, I'm going to give you my opinion. I am fine with DNFing books. I don't do it often because I am the kind of person that's like, what if something happens in the end that clears up all this annoyance for me? And what if I end up liking it? Like, I have like FOMO, like what if this ends up being my favorite book and I missed out on it because I didn't read it to the end? However, if I really am actively hating it, I have no problem DNFing it. So I am personally team DNF, but let's see what you guys said. Here is how the poll ended up. So 87% of you say yes to the DNF and agree with me, and 13% say DNFing is quitting. So there you go. There's people's opinions. I love the difference, but I am actually on team DNF. Okay, so the next opinion is, I think starting a series based on the popular opinion order of the books is stressful. Popular opinion order. So is that like popular opinion order? Does that mean when people like read the series and then they change around the order based on like the storyline and the subjectivity of it? Because if that's what you're talking about, I agree. I'm a chronological reader. I prefer to read things chronologically, either chronologically like in the story or in publication order. I just think like if that's the way that the author wrote it, that's the way it's intended to be read. So I tend to agree with this. However, I think I actually abandoned this. Well, maybe not, because I read Assassin's Blade first for Throne of Glass. So I think technically that's out of publication order, but I think it's chronological in the storyline. So yeah, I would probably agree with this. I go more chronological storyline or chronological publication order. So I agree. The next poll I put up was hardcover or paperback. Before I even look at what you said, I am a hardcover girly. I prefer hardcovers. I think they look better on the shelves. I actually like the way they feel in my hands better. There is nothing worse to me than a stiff paperback. But I am a hardcover girl. I do acknowledge that they're a little bit harder to travel with. However, if you're really that concerned about traveling, I would typically read it on my Kindle. And as far as traveling with a hardcover, I actually find they're less likely to get damaged. Shift your mindset, guys. Shift your mindset. If I'm going to take a little floppy paperback and put it in a bag, and I take it out of that bag and the cover is bent back and things have fallen on top of it, that stresses me out. Putting a hardcover, it's like a little bit more sturdy. Like, I don't think it's going to get as damaged throwing it in my bag. So I actually travel with my hardcovers as well. So I personally am team hardcover, but let's see what you guys are. Paperback. So paperback for the win was 73% and hardcover for the win was 27%. I'm not surprised by that. And I know the other thing for paperbacks is that hardcovers are typically a lot more expensive, sometimes even like double the price to the paperback. So on the like cost efficiency side, I would agree. However, I am a hardcover girl. The next opinion is Archer's Voice was written like an 11-year-old and it was really bad. Sorry. First of all, don't be sorry. Second of all, that's your opinion. You be confident, okay? You be confident. I have not read Archer's Voice. I know that it is a cult classic. I know that I've seen so many booktubers on BookTube literally bawling, tears streaming down their face reading this book. I'm intrigued by it. I own like 3 copies of it, which is, you know, me. Of course I do. However, I could kind of see what you're saying. It was written by an 11-year-old. So are you saying that it felt a little YA, like the characters were immature? Because I actually have heard people say that before. However, I've also heard that it's super spicy. So what 11-year-old would write like that? That is one experienced 11-year-old, my friend. I don't know about that. I'm not sure. I'm going to be 50-50 on this one, leaning almost towards disagree, because I guess I would have, once again, follow-up questions about what writing like an 11-year-old means. Do you mean like the banter is immature, the decisions are immature of the characters? Because if so, I agree and I see that. But if you're saying that like the characters are written as though they could be 11, I might disagree with that. So interesting opinion though. Now I'm intrigued about what my opinion is going to be about the characters in Archer's Voice. Next poll I put up was series or standalone. Are you someone that prefers a good standalone, like this is it, I'm going to finish this book, close the book, and move on to something else out of the world? Or are you somebody who loves to start a series and be committed to this world and these characters for multiple books? I am a series girl. I do love a standalone. Like, I don't have very hard opinions about this one. I'll read either, but I think I prefer a series. There is nothing about really digging into the meat of a series and falling in love with characters. You almost become more attached because you're following them through an extended period of time. However, with that being said, there's nothing that frustrates me more than being really invested in a story and having to wait a year for the series to continue. ACOTAR. Sorry, I had a tickle in my throat. So let's see what you guys said. Give me all the series got 72% and prefer standalones got 28%. I kind of expected that. I think most people nowadays have gotten invested in a series they're really hooked on, and even like a Harry Potter girl is gonna love a series. So there you go. Okay, this next one says, the whole audiobook argument of it counting as being read is silly. Okay, so I'm confused about what position you're taking on this one. So are you saying the argument that audiobooks count as reading is silly? Or the fact that there's an argument of audiobooks counting is silly in general? Like, of course they count. This is a silly argument, right? So I'm not sure what position you're taking on this, so I'm not going to agree or disagree with you because I don't want to put words in your mouth. However, I will tell you my opinion on audiobooks. My opinion on audiobooks is that they count. I've actually never listened to one. I'm not an audiobook girl. However, I don't want to yuck someone's yum, and everyone is a different learner. So I personally am a combination learner, visual and audio learner. So I can read or listen and absorb. However, my best friend is more of an audio learner. She absorbs information much better when it is spoken to her or told to her. So in school, lectures were very important to her because lecturing is where she absorbed her most information. For me, it was a combination of attending the lecture and taking the notes. So I heard the information and I wrote the information and could then read it. So everyone processes and absorbs information differently. So I think audiobooks count. At the end of the day, you're still physically not flipping the pages, but you're still intaking the story, which is what reading is. It's intaking a story. It doesn't specifically mean with your eyes or your ears. Who cares? You're taking in the story. I say it counts, but comment below if you disagree with me, and also comment below why you think this is even an argument in the first place. Like, who cares? We could still have a book club with a book and get together and discuss it. You would never know whether somebody picked up the book or listened to the audio, so the story is the same. What is the argument? Can people enlighten me down below? Like, enlighten me on what even the controversy is here. But I can't agree or disagree with you because I'm not sure what your opinion is, but for me, audiobooks count. Okay, next and last poll was e-reader or physical book. So do you like reading on your Kindle, Kobo, Amazon Fire, iPad app, phone, or do you like reading and flipping the pages of a physical book? I am personally both. However, I think I'm actually more of an e-reader girl. I think that's kind of become more apparent in the last couple of months. I read faster on my Kindle. I like traveling and like moving around with my Kindle, like reading in my car, bringing it with me. I could whip it out when I'm in like a doctor's office somewhere. And I guess you could do that with a book, but I just prefer doing it with my Kindle. So I think on this poll, I would have probably voted e-reader. However, let's see what you guys said. Physical. 67% of people said physical and 33% of people said e-reader. I love that. I obviously love to have the physical copies on my shelves, but if I have the physical copy and I have it on my Kindle, I'm most likely going to read it on my Kindle. So there you go. Okay, and last but not least is this opinion. Personal opinion is special editions are a scam. I am going to take a very unexpected opinion on this as a special edition collector. Okay. I have an entire bookshelf of special editions. I mean, God, there's probably 150 of them. So I'm going to take a very hypocritical opinion on this. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to overwhelmingly agree with you. The nature of the special edition market right now certainly can be quite scammy. And it depends on your motivation for why you are buying special editions. Similar to like somebody who's like an art collector, right? If you are buying these special editions because you're doing it as like a get rich quick scheme, right? Like you think that you could buy the special edition for $30 and turn around and make millions, that's a scam. That's not going to happen. However, if you are buying special editions for reasons like I am, where I genuinely look at these as pieces of art that I collect and I want to have, and I love reading the book, falling in love with it, and then being able to look at the artwork and look at the sprayed edges and looked at the special edition covers and it brings me joy, then I wouldn't say that's so much scammy, but I have a weird feeling that is not the element of special editions that you're talking about. I'm assuming, maybe poorly, and if this person wants to, they can correct me in the comments below. I'm assuming perhaps poorly that you mean like the special edition market, or even like secondhand market is a scam. And with that, I would tend to agree. If you're doing it because you think that these special editions are going to make you a millionaire one day, that's not true. That's a scam. Don't do it. But if you're doing it like I am because you love to collect it and you're looking at them as pieces of art that you want to collect on your shelves, then certainly get into it. Don't become hooked on it like I am. Just don't do it. Just avoid it. It's a gateway drug. So, but I think overall, I would probably agree with you. Okay, and just like that, those were all the questions and opinions that you guys sent me, and also what the results of our polls were. I love hearing your thoughts, your opinions, your questions, and always feel free to send them in the comments down below, and I will respond to them in the future, or maybe we could just have a good like back and forth chat on Insta about them. But thank you guys so much for everyone who participated, and for this video, go ahead and comment the little emoji with the guy going like that, like talking, because I love hearing your opinions. So without further ado, please do all the things that you guys are fantastic at, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye, guys.